How are you? Welcome back. Great to have you, Rush Limbaugh. I have my wits about me, folks. I always do. I am not sidetracked. I'm not diverted. I am not distracted. Nor am I intimidated. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened here. And it's not what the rumor speculation is. I understand that. This decision's inexplicable to people. They're desperately trying to come up with an explanation that would fit in their minds. My gosh, what happened here? I mean, here's what happened. The Supreme Court, a majority of the Supreme Court, found Obamacare unconstitutional. They found the mandate unconstitutional. The Chief Justice, John Roberts, kicked into activist mode and found a way around that. I don't care if he found a way around it because he was intimidated by Obama or Patrick Leahy or somebody in the media. I don't care because I don't think he was. I think he did what he wanted to do. He has sided with the liberal justices more often than not in previous decisions. I just throw that out as a statistic, not as evidence. I think he's building a legacy. This is what he wanted to happen. He found a way for it to happen. And so now, folks, it's game on. And I know some of you may get sick and tired of always being in this. But why is it always game on? Why is it always us that have to do it? Well, it's the way of the world. It's simply the reality we face today. We are up against people who believe in tyranny. We are up against people who do not want there to be individual freedom and liberty in this country. That's what we face. We don't face people who like a level playing field with the will of the people being the determining factor. It's not the people we're up against. We're up against people who do not like the U.S. Constitution. We're up against people who do not like this country as founded. We're up against people who want to change it. They have not liked it for a long time, or they've never liked it. We don't have time to try to analyze why. We don't have time to try to figure out how they ended up being this way. We now are governed by a monstrous assault on our personal liberty and freedom. We are governed by it. We are living under its thumb. Jackboot. And it is now time to wrap this monstrosity around Obama's head. He will not tell anybody what this bill means. It's up to us. And we can't even count on Romney to do this. All we can do is hope that he gets it right. We have to tell people what this bill is, and we have to be able to show them and tell them that's what this bill is and explain it. This bill is death panels. This bill is massive taxes on our behavior. We have to be able to explain that what happened today does not mean free health care for the poor. If anything, it means the poor will lose their health care. What with this Medicaid expansion? We have death panels now. We have massive taxes, tax increases. We have taxes on our behavior. We have a tax if we choose not to have health insurance. You young people who don't want to buy health insurance because you don't need it yet. Too bad. If you don't, you pay a fine. And there are 16,000 IRS agents newly hired who are going to be enforcing this thing. There are 2,700 pages in this monstrosity. There are going to be regulations that haven't even been dreamed up yet. Because as the bill states, countless times as the Secretary shall determine. Secretary of Health and Human Services can pretty much write the law as he or she goes. There will be denial of care. Not everybody's going to get health care, whether they're insured or not. It's going to be determined that some people's health care is not worth the cost. Either the disease is too far advanced, or the disease is too far advanced and they're too old. Or perhaps they're not of the right political party. Don't you dare discount that. You keep in mind the kind of people we are up against people who want us, Arthur Davis exactly right, marginalized. Half of this country they want marginalized as extreme wacko alien kooks. These are people that would be happy to deny your grandmother health coverage if you didn't vote for Obama, and I am not exaggerating. These are people who itch, bureaucrats and so who itch for that kind of power over people. This law provides it. Rationing, it's all part of the mix. We're $16 trillion in debt. Not everybody's going to get health care. And I don't care what Obama says, not everybody's going to get the best health care. Not everybody's going to get equal health care. Not everybody's going to get equal insurance. Nothing Obama says about this has very much relationship to the truth. You're not going to hear about any of this stuff that I'm telling you, but it is game on. We're going to price controls because premiums and things, prices of healthcare are going to skyrocket. And these experts, these statists, the people who want total dominion and control over your life are going to be shocked. Because some of these people are true believers, and they really believe all the propaganda. They believe it's going to get cheaper. They believe it's going to get more plentiful. And when it doesn't, they are going to be shocked and stunned, and they're not going to understand it. Just like when every other program of theirs bails up and fails, they're clueless. And all they want is credit for their good intentions. But they're going to have to deal with the failure. They're going to have to deal with the problems this bill creates. So there will be rationing. There will be price controls. There will be massive deficits. And all of this needs to be wrapped around the head of Barack Obama and every Democrat running for re-election who supported this thing, which is every one of them. That's where we are. That's what this is. And now this precedent set by this ruling today, where the government can tax behavior, not just your income, not just your user fee at a public park or a federal park, or not just your gasoline tax. Now, sky's the limit. Whatever they want to tax, they can. That was just affirmed via this decision today. Now, I must say there's some people out there, doesn't matter who, and this is quite natural too. I understand this psychologically. There are people who are trying to point out positive aspects in the Roberts ruling. There are people who are saying that we've got to be very careful, Rush. John Roberts, George Bush appointed. We don't want to jump on John Roberts still. We don't. Sorry, this is an appalling, disgraceful decision, and it's going to be remembered as such. And this decision, this ruling originally was found to be unconstitutional. According to the Commerce Clause, it was unconstitutional. And what happened, the chief judge found a way, going activist, to make sure this bill survived. And it was the chief justice accepted a very little used administration argument that, hey, it's a tax. Even though we played the tape, Obama said it wasn't a tax. He went to the mat telling George Stephanopoulos in 2009, it's not a tax increase, George. They knew that this bill were sold as a tax increase. Obama's out there saying nobody who makes under $200,000 a year will see their taxes go up as long as I'm president. Everybody's taxes go up, and sometimes monstrously high here. They went to the end of the world to try to convince people this was not a tax increase. And when the mandate was running into trouble, then they tried to say, well, maybe they sent their little virility up to the court to argue it could be a tax. They weren't excited about it. They didn't want to sell it that way. It turns out they didn't have to. The chief judge found it. They said, you know what? I'm just going to call it a tax. The government can do that. They can't make everybody buy health insurance with the mandate, but they can with the tax code. That's what happened today. It is an appalling, disgraceful decision. And as I was trying to, when dealing with all the rumors and the speculation, there's no point in playing the game to try to find, okay, is there something positive here? Is there something that we can grasp onto and say, well, there's maybe some hope? There isn't any. The only hope is the November election. There's no way to get this decision redone. We can't send this decision back. The court's not going to take it. They're long gone. They're out of there. I can't think of a founding father or any state that would have supported a constitution of the sort that the Chief Justice just set out in his ruling. There wasn't even an income tax in the original Constitution. It required the 13th Amendment. So don't, I know that there's a temptation to try to explain the inexplicable, try to find a silver lining to grasp and hold on to and so forth. And if that makes you feel, but go ahead, but it doesn't matter. The ruling is the ruling and it stands. And so now it's game on. This thing has to be repealed. It has to be repealed by the elected representatives of the people. And that can only happen if the election results are massively in our favor in November. That's the next task. And I'm confident what happened in 2010 is going to happen with greater intensity and in larger numbers in 2012 than it happened in 2010. I'm talking about the midterm elections, the Tea Party, and everybody mobilizing. The Constitution was written to limit government power. This ruling expands government power like no one has ever imagined. This ruling expands government power like nobody's ever asked for it before. Obama didn't even ask for this. He didn't ask for this kind of massive tax increase. He asked for the Commerce Clause to be able to force people to buy insurance, and then what that would open in terms of future doors. It's an appalling decision, and there's nothing in it that you can grasp onto and try to find some positives, unless you want to. It's not going to mean anything. 16th Amendment income tax. I misspoke. 16th Amendment. And my point is, no founding father would envision a constitution written this way. Nobody envisioned a constitution or a government with this kind of power. Got to take a break. Sit tight, my friends. We'll be back. I'll squeeze a couple more phone calls in here before we pack it in.